All right, all right, all right. This is the week 2 recruiting podcast. And I believe this is like 25 weeks in a row that I have done this, which I'm actually really proud of. Guys, it's 10:09 p.m. on a Tuesday night. Had a great day today. I left every day. This is my schedule. I leave my house at about 8:10 a.m., take the kiddos to school, which I love doing. I'm proud of the fact that I can be a present father who takes my kids to school. Immediately upon dropping them off to school, I go to the gym. Usually Mark's there, often Ryan's there. We lift for 30 to 45 minutes. Anything longer than that, and I go crazy and I got to get to the office. So I generally speaking get to the office about 9:30, 9:45, 10 o'clock, and then I'm ripping and gripping and working hard all day long. I have been at the office for over 12 hours today, and I'm proud of that because I want to work hard and I want to be someone who shows up. Anyways, that was a tangent. This is like 25 weeks in a row of doing these podcasts, and I couldn't let Tuesday slip by without making one. So here I am doing what it takes. Consistency matters, and I want to be someone who shows up for every commitment that I've made. So let me dive right in. Last week, I kind of gave you guys an intro to recruiting, and I talked about building your 100 names list. If you haven't done that and you haven't shared it with your team leader, that's your first step. So pause this video and at least jot down 10 or 15 names that you can start contacting. I talked about the theory of you're never just buying bananas. And Ryan Pay actually shared what made me like extremely happy tonight. This text that just got me pumped. He bought a gun. Congratulations for that too. Second Amendment matters. But bought a gun and said that while doing that, he recruited the salesman. And then he sent the line, "You're never just buying bananas." And that just like made me smile because he took it serious. And guys, who knows? That could be a connection that turns into tens of thousands of dollars and a very fruitful and rewarding and fun relationship for him in the future. So you're never just buying bananas in this job, whether you're shopping at the grocery store, if you're at the gas station, if you meet someone at church on Sunday, whatever it is, always look for opportunities to be recruiting because that is our job. That is our livelihood. We're recruiters. Now, step number 3, be planted and optimistic. And I talked about recommitting early on. And even if you're not fully bought into the idea right now, anytime someone asks you about your experience, you need to be incredibly positive and optimistic and grateful and float the idea that like, hey, it was amazing and I'm going back because it was so good. And if you're planted and optimistic, you're planting seeds that you will harvest later on. And that's the best way to start to build recruits and start to put the idea into your connections, your network's head. I talked about the ABCs of recruiting: amigo, business, closer, the different roles that each of those guys play in the recruiting process. And then I reminded you all that, especially here these next couple months, your job is to be the amigo and get people in the door with us. We talked about the recruiting tree and how to go to the right person first. Okay, if I'm doing the first meeting with the sales rep, I'm happy to do it, but it kind of reduces some of my like frame. And I mentioned the book Pitch Anything by Oren Klaff. You all should read that. Kind of reduces my frame if you need me to come in and be the closer later. So have the team leader do the first meeting. Have the divisional manager help or assist with the second meeting. And if you need the regional or the partner to do the third or fourth meeting, we're here for it. But kind of continuing up that step stool allows each of us to have the frame. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today and why that's important. We talked about following up, and that is where the gold is. Okay. The best recruits take follow-up. They often don't sign on from 1 meeting or 2 meetings or even 3. I talked about how I've got recruits that I recruited for multiple years before they finally decided to do this job. And it's hard and it's frustrating, but it's always worth it. Guys, I've got a meeting with a kid tomorrow who did $2 million in his downline last year at another company. And I'm not exaggerating when I say I've been recruiting this kid for well over a year. And I've had to follow up like dozens and dozens and dozens of times to get him to sit down. But tomorrow will be the first day that he steps foot in this office, and I am so excited for it. And I hope that it pays off. But guess what? If it doesn't, I'm going to keep following up and keep following up and keep following up because I know that eventually it'll pay off either with him or someone else. The gold is in the follow-up. And then we talked about building a personal brand and how that is the ultimate like hack when it comes to recruiting and anything else in life. It is the currency of our generation. And if you don't start today, you're going to have to start in some future because it's becoming even more important. That is your job resume, it's your calling card, and that is what attracts people to you. And I use the example of Jarek Harris, one of our top rookies this last year. He came to work with Aptiv Elite because of my personal brand, because of work that I've put in over the years. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm going to keep working on it and keep building it, try and keep my personal brand as strong as I possibly can and make it even better. And then finally, we talked about how recruiting is the ultimate time multiplier. And no matter how good you get at sales, which sales is still infinitely better than an hourly job, but no matter how good you get, at some point you run into a limit of, hey, I don't have enough time. And recruiting allows you to multiply and push that limit farther and farther back so that you can make a margin on millions and millions and millions of dollars of revenue that you recruited and led and produced. It's an incredibly powerful thing, an incredibly rewarding opportunity. We also talked a little bit about the different components to the recruiting and training and mentoring and leadership model here at Aptiv, and how you get paid in direct proportion for the value that you provide. And if you provide value all along the way, that's how you get paid the most. So you have to step up and you have to take control and you have to say, hey, I can do this and I'm going to learn because that's what I want. I want to be the guy. And if you're not the guy for your sales reps, then someone else is, and they deserve a chunk of that margin. And again, all of this is laid out incredibly well in Aptiv's pay model. And I'll get into that in the future as well. I want to do one of these podcasts every week and really help us learn to recruit and build and grow the right way. So with all that, I'm going to dive into some new material. Now, I talked about this briefly, the whole triage of recruiting. And, first you got the team leader, the divisional manager, the regional, and kind of the structure of how you should bring people in the door. Now, part of what I wanted to talk about today, and most of it's going to center around the first meeting and what should happen in a first meeting. And if you're the person doing the first meeting, kind of what you should be doing. And if you're not the person doing the first meeting and you're bringing the person in the door, what your role should be. Excuse me. And so part of this is how you set the meeting. So you've got this friend and you're getting them in the door to come and sell with us. And you set up a meeting, and maybe you set up the meeting with Aiden Parent. When you bring this person to meet with Aiden, you don't simply want to say, hey, the job's awesome, you should come meet with Aiden. You want to hype Aiden up to the point where they're thinking, and rightly so, because Aiden is the man, but they're thinking, man, I am going to meet with the coolest, best, most excellent guy in the world. And this does a couple things. Thing number one, it makes it more likely that they show up for the meeting because they think they're meeting with the coolest, most excellent, best person in the world. And they should respect that person's time because he could potentially be a valuable connection for them. Something you guys have to realize about the psychology behind us as humans, we're all self-interested. And that's not a bad thing, okay? I want what I want. You all want what you want. And if you have something that can help me get there, you benefit me. That's great. And if Joey has something that I'm interested in, I'm going to look for ways to benefit from that. And that's just human nature. There's nothing wrong with being self-interested. And so you have to play to their self-interest a little bit. You have to build this person up so that they're excited about having an incredible connection. And so if I'm bringing someone in to meet with Aiden, I'm saying something to this effect. Dude, this guy changed my life. Like, I don't mean to be cheesy with you, but he's literally become like one of my best friends, and he's totally just opened my eyes to what's possible. Like at one point in my life, I just, I was pretty happy making 10, 15 bucks an hour. And this kid, Aiden, 21 years old, he's ripping a McLaren. Aiden's a little older than that, 22 years old. He's ripping a McLaren, and he actually just bought a TRX. It's insane. But what I personally admire even more than that is all along the way, and even before that, he's bought real estate. So he's not just acquiring these bad assets, like he's done it the right way. And I'm hoping, I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping that I can kind of follow in his footsteps, and I want to go big into real estate and then eventually hopefully get a car or two. And like, it's been awesome. So I wanted Aiden to talk to you about the job and kind of help you see the potential in it and help you hear his story and then obviously answer any questions. So this person going into the meeting is like, man, Aiden's the man. Like he helped my best friend figure out life. And not only that, but he did it the right way. And Aiden has the frame at that point. So then when Aiden tells this person, like, hey, dude, I think you'd be really good at this job, the person gets excited about it and is more likely to say yes. Okay. Because Aiden has influence on them and they have something to gain from meeting with Aiden, a valuable connection, a lesson learned, whatever it is. Okay. If I'm setting up a meeting for McKenna Halls, I'm going to say something to the effect of, there's historically not been a lot of girls that have done really well in the industry. And this girl that I'm going to have you meet with, McKenna Halls, she is like legitimately the OG of all female sales reps. I mean, she was one of the first to lead $1 million downline. She did it while having $300,000 and more in personal sales. She did it while, having a baby shortly thereafter. She's bought real estate along the way. She bought her dream truck. She has a super cool razor. Like the girl absolutely crushes. And not only that, but she's like the best systems person I've ever met. I'm super disorganized and McKenna helped me break down a schedule so that I knew exactly what I needed to do to get from step A to step B. So I really think that she's going to be a huge connection for you. And I hope that she's able to kind of paint the job in a good way. And you can see, if you don't know McKenna and you're going to meet with this person, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this should be a really cool meeting. So you got to set the stage for whoever it is that you're bringing this recruit to meet with. And if you do that, it's the best thing ever. Guys, when I have a meeting and it's okay. Like I have no, I'm sure I have an ego, but I intend to have no ego. I couldn't care less if they don't know anything about me for personal benefit. But when I go in and the sales rep, the person I'm meeting with has no idea that like I own any real estate or I've done this for a long time, it then puts me in this awkward place where I kind of have to prove myself to the sales rep really early on in the meeting. I'm like, hey, so I've done this job for 12 years, which I know is a long time. I'm 15 years older than you, which I feel weird about too. I'm freaking old. But hey, I've balled out along the way. Like I promise I have some street cred. And then all of a sudden I feel like a loser because I'm setting the stage for myself. And it's so much more beneficial when your recruit comes into the meeting with this idea of like, I'm going to meet with someone really cool. And every single one of our leaders is someone really cool. Hey, the team lead I'm going to have you meet with was in the top 1% of rookie sales reps last year. Hey, the team lead I'm going to have you meet with didn't bagel more than 3 times their entire first year. You can make anything sound amazing, but make sure that you're setting the stage for whoever this person is going to meet with. Okay. Point number 2, when you're actually in the meeting. And so some of this is going to be like totally new for all of you. A lot of you, it's like, oh, I had one first meeting ever and I've never sat in on another one. Here's what a first meeting generally looks like when I run the first meeting. So right off the rip, you want to start out with building trust and finding common ground. So a big part of sales is building rapport with the customer on the door, but that happens in the first 30 seconds. Recruiting's a little bit more laid back. So I'll spend legitimately 10 minutes just chopping it up with the person and getting to know them. And I'll ask them questions and I'll listen to their life. And the whole time that I'm listening to their life, I'm actively listening. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Oh, I've heard about that. That's amazing. I'm actively listening, so I'm paying attention, but I'm also making some mental notes of, okay, that's obviously important to this person. I can tie that into this job. That relates to what I'm doing. I might want to share this story. If I can tell that this person really prioritizes their education, personally, I've got a story for that. And I'm going to share with them a brief story about how this job helped me pay for school so that I didn't have to work during the semester and therefore I could get better grades, because that's applicable to them and they'll probably care about that. Now, if they don't care about school, they hate college, why would I share that story? It doesn't relate to them. In that context, I'm going to share a story about how I thought school was the path for me, but in going to school, I realized it was kind of meh, and I stumbled upon this job and very quickly I scaled my income and it was the best thing ever. And I'm so glad that I don't have to spend time in a classroom anymore because this job gives me the freedom of life that I want, because that'll relate to them. And so you want to spend, again, 5 minutes at least, probably more like 10 minutes, getting to know the person and authentically building rapport and gaining a relationship. Ask them where they're from. Ask them what things they're interested in, what hobbies they have. Did they play sports before? How old they are, what they do for fun. Ask them what their interests are. And certainly and specifically, ask them about goals and aspirations for the future. And then one question that I always like to segue with before I move on. Pro tip, don't jump straight into the recruiting pitch. This job is all about relationships, especially with recruiting. It's all about relationships. And in this first, 5-10 minutes, you do want to share some of your story. And I mentioned that, but keep it brief. A lot of this should be listening, should be actively listening, and it should be figuring out exactly what you want. I like to specifically and especially ask them about goals and aspirations, what they want out of the future, what they're hoping to achieve, what they're hoping they might accomplish. And then I love to segue with a question similar to this one. I'll say something to the effect of, well, dude, that's all amazing. And just right off the rip, I've done a lot of these meetings. I can tell that you are a 5-star person, and I love what you've shared with me. Let me ask you this. How could or how would or why would a job like this one fit into your master plan? Or what would you hope to get out of the job? Okay. And a question like that is really good because they'll tell you you've built some rapport at this point, and they'll say, well, to be honest, I'm not interested in it at all, but the money's really good and I need money. Or they'll say, I'm hoping that I can be a public speaker sometime and this will help me learn that. Or they'll say, my friend just got me in the door and I don't really know. And then you can kind of gauge, hey, here's what they're interested in, or here's where I need to create interest because they tell you. So rewind it, listen to that again. You say something to the effect of, well, dude, that's all awesome. And I can tell just right off the rip, you're awesome. Like, I'm into football, you're into football, you're a Raiders fan. I'll let that one slide. But other than that, you're great. Let me ask you this, though. This job is hard. It's not easy. It takes commitment, it takes time. What about this job makes you interested? Or why did you decide to come sit down for a meeting? Or what might you get out of summer sales? What are you hoping to learn from it? What's your goal with doing this job if you decide to do it? They're going to tell you all their secrets. And then I kind of frame the meeting and I say, okay, now let me kind of briefly go over some of the highlights. And I'm sure you're going to have questions along the way. Feel free to stop me at any time. I want to really lean into what you need to know, what you're interested in, or what you're not understanding. And from there, I'll kind of say, okay, here's what a day in the life looks like. You're waking up, blah, blah, blah. I'll explain what a typical day in the job looks like. And this is going to last 5 to 10 minutes max. You don't want to spend 45 minutes on it. But here's what a day looks like. It's an all commission job. And the more you sell, the more you can earn. And again, these are what I talk about. Day in the life. Here's how the pay works. Okay. I have this written down a little bit better here. So explain the opportunity. Keep it simple and clear. Who we are. We're Aptiv. We're the fastest growing company. We've got proven systems, elite culture. What we do, it's door-to-door sales. It's a high earning opportunity, completely commission-based job, and why it matters to them. You can get personal growth out of it, financial upside, travel, camaraderie, whatever they want to do. And then you want to hit on 3 Ps, okay? And ChatGPT and I came up with this, and I really like it. You want to talk about the paycheck, and I would do it in this order. The paycheck, okay? Life-changing income opportunity. You want to talk about the personal growth, the skills that transfer to anything and everything in life. And in each of these steps, you're applying it to them. Hey, this paycheck is going to help you pay for school. Hey, this paycheck is going to help you get the car you want. Hey, this paycheck is going to give you the confidence that you need to pull down the baddie that you've had a crush on, whatever it is. Personal growth. Hey, the job skills that you learn doing this will totally help you as you look to open your own mechanical shop. Hey, the skills that you learn doing this job, they actually translate super, super well to, going and interviewing with med schools. And it's going to help you be the best interviewer that any of these med schools have ever met with. Hey, the skills that you learn here, they will completely apply to whatever it is that this person wants to do. So paycheck, personal growth, and then the third P is the people, okay? And this is why folks come to work at Elite. There's a lot of great opportunities in this world. There's a lot of great income and different things that people could chase down. But the one that I care about the most, and if we're honest, 99% of you do too, is the people. And this is also the least douchey, like most sincere and best thing that you can talk about because it's altruistic. It's win-win all the way around. You say something to the effect of, but my favorite part about the job has just simply got to be the people. Like the team I'm on became a brotherhood. The guys that I was out there selling with, like those have become my closest friends. When I'm going to, Canyoneer at midnight, I'm inviting Adam because that guy's crazy and we've been through some things together. Like you want to talk about how the culture of the group that you go out with is powerful, is driven, is better. And I usually say something to the effect of, I mean, dude, you know this as well as anyone, but the people that you surround yourself with really impact and matter. That's who you become. And these are people who, just like you and me, they're driven. They want more out of life. They're not okay with mediocrity. They're not partying on weekends. Like they are there to work hard and level up. And so I love lots of things about the job. I love the paycheck. I love the personal growth. But what keeps me coming back to Aptiv are the people because we have the best people in the world. And the group that I get to work with every day makes it all worth it. On the hard days when I come home and I'm going crazy, I get to go home to a group of people who I know will lift me up. And when I'm having the best day ever, they're not trying to stab me in the back and cut me down at the knees. They're cheering me on and they want me to win because that's the kind of organization that we have and the people make it all worth it. So keep it simple and clear: who we are, what we do, why it matters to them, and then the 3 Ps: people, paycheck, personal growth. I need to probably make a activity with this so that you guys can kind of follow along and look through this before you go into meetings. Now, next bullet point that I have written down in regards to the first meeting is keep it interactive. What are you studying? What are your summer plans? What have you thought about sales before? Make it two-sided. You don't ever want to just talk for 10 minutes and not let them get a word in edgewise. And so as you go through the keep it simple and clear step where you're explaining who we are, what we do, and why it matters, I'll ask questions along the way like, does that make sense? Or have you ever heard of something like that? Or would something like that be interesting to you? Like, do you like the idea of a commission-based job? And I'll even prompt them. I'll say something like, now, dude, I know that you mentioned you played football. Something that I love is people who played football, they tend to be really driven. And you can tell me if I'm way off base here, but you seem like you were probably really driven, like you're jacked, and that takes a lot of discipline. Do you think that skill set would transfer over, would kind of correlate to a job like this? And inevitably, they're going to say yes. Another question that I've heard a lot of recruiters ask, and I really like it, so they'll say something like, no, dude, I know you kind of talked to me about some of your history and things that you've done. Like, what skills do you think you've learned over the years that might help you in a commission-based job, that might help you scale the pay scale, that might help you kind of assimilate to this high-achieving group? Like, what about you makes you think that you could do this job at a really high level? And then they're going to pitch themselves to you. They're going to say, you know what? I'm the hardest worker out of anybody. I'm the guy who, no matter the day of the week, like I'm going to knock the doors that I'm supposed to knock. And they're going to sell themselves to you. And all along the way, as they're doing that, their mind's thinking, oh, I should do this. Like this is right up my alley. When you talk about the paycheck, the personal growth, the people, ask them, hey, what would it mean to you if you went out and you averaged $6,000 a month in income? What would it mean to you if you developed the skills from this job? Like, how would those apply to your life? Ask them questions. Hey, do you have a big group of friends right now? Like, who's your mentor? Oh, I got this guy. He's been the greatest mentor ever to me. It's been the best part about this job because the people are amazing. Like, do you have a good mentor? Like, is that something? Do you want to learn about real estate? Do you want to learn about getting ahead in your 20s? Like, what are you interested in? Okay? That's how it relates. Um, if they ask you difficult questions, okay? And I don't even have good examples of this, but people ask multiple things. There's arbitrary questions and there's questions where it's like, oh, it's difficult. Things like, well, how hard is it? I've heard a lot of recruiters dodge it and just be dishonest. And then they're like, oh, no, everyone does well. No, shoot them straight, okay? It's really hard. Well, how hard? No, dude, it's tough. Like, man, I got to be honest. We brought out like 10 guys last year and 3 or 4 of them decided not to do it after a first couple weeks because it's really hard. And so the difference between those who do well and those who don't, is they won't quit. Anyone can learn how to do this job. But if people kind of have that quit mentality, they're not going to cut it. And that's where, like, you start out as the amigo because you don't have these canned responses, and it takes time to build them up. And if you're like, hey, this is my third year doing this and I don't have those canned responses yet, you got to do some meetings. Just like you got to pitch some people on the doors. You can't shadow forever. You got to try it. I've done, I don't even know, tens of thousands of recruiting meetings over the years. And so I've got great responses now. I wish that I could just record 24 hours of meetings for you guys and put them all out there. That'd be really cool. That's what I'm going to try and do with these podcasts, catch you guys up to speed though. So when they ask you difficult questions, don't dodge them. Be straight up, be honest. Well, dude, like, what was your worst day like? Bro, I bageled and I wanted to quit. Like, it was hard, but then share a lesson. Okay. But I learned, and that's one of the things I love about this job, I should never quit. As long as I keep going, it's all going to work out. I sold 3 the next day, and that day was hard, but the next day was good. And so that's my takeaway. Like, I can never quit. I got to keep pushing. Closing the meeting. Okay. In the first meeting, certainly at times, guys are just chomping at the bit. And the amigo's done a great job explaining things before, and they're already ready to sign on. And if that's the case, great. We sign them on, we get them training. If they're not ready to sign on, which is very common, remember that the gold is in the follow-up. And you always want to do a couple things. You want to set the stage for the next meeting. So I'll say something to this effect. I'll say something like, well, dude, this has been an awesome meeting, and I know that it's a ton of information. I mean, you're kind of drinking through a fire hose. If you're open to it, I would love the chance to sit down again and answer some more questions and just talk a little bit more. Maybe share some stories. I can show you averages. I can show you, top rep earnings. I can show you kind of where you think you could fall in. And I'd love to talk more about that. Would it be okay if we sat down in 2 or 3 days and kind of went over some things? That's all it needs to be. One of the things that takes, senior team leads to divisionals is the willingness to do a second, a third, and a fourth meeting. Oftentimes I see team leaders, senior team leaders, and even divisional managers who do one meeting, and they think that because they did one meeting, then all of a sudden they need to pass them down the line, and then the divisional's meeting with them, and then the regional's meeting with them. And all that happens is the regional does the same 4 meetings that the divisional could have. And again, we're always going to say yes, happy to do it. But you have to learn to become that guy. So that's how you set the stage for a second meeting or a third meeting. You say, well, dude, it's been awesome talking with you and I've loved it. I'd love to sit down more and go over kind of these specific things and see if I can't relate this job to your life and see if I can't sell you on the idea a little bit. Because to be frank, I think you'd be really, really good at it and I want you on the team. So if you're open to it, can we hop on another call tomorrow or Thursday and kind of chop it up and go over some of the stuff? And it can just be 15 minutes, just casual like this one was. But I'd love to go over some more stuff with you. Does that sound okay? Sweet. If they're getting interested, I love committing them like this. I'll say, well, dude, we still have a lot to talk about. I mean, I want to go over things like how the rent works, the pay schedule, the pay system, and how you can maximize your income. I want to explain all that so it's perfectly clear to you so that you can understand the opportunity to the max and then go and capitalize on it. So part of that is going over the agreement. Could I send you the agreement today? And don't feel like you need to sign it, but look it over. And when we meet again in 2 days, I'll go over it with you. Let me get your email and I'll send you that. It's a great close, just like selling. I had a meeting with a kid today out in California. And at the end of the meeting, he was asking me about signing on. And if I'm just on the phone and I haven't even Zoomed him, personally, I like to do at least one more meeting first. We signed like 1,100 people last year and less than half showed up, and that's fine. It doesn't matter. But I'd rather spend 3 or 4 meetings and get the person actually committed than just sign them in the first meeting and never talk to them again. That does no one any good. And so he was asking about the paperwork and I'm like, yeah, dude, let me send you the paperwork, but don't sign it yet because we haven't gone over pay. We haven't gone over anything else. And I set a follow-up meeting for 2 days from now. Okay. You got to learn that recruiting is not like door-to-door sales where you just slam them in and forget about them. Like recruiting is the opposite, where you want to slam them in, but then you can't forget about them because the gold is in the follow-up. And if you sign 100 people and only 10 show up, you wasted your time on 90. You should have just spent time on the 10. Had you not signed the 90, you probably could have had 15 show up. It doesn't matter how many you sign. It matters how many show up. And so build the authentic, real relationship. Now, I'll talk about more stuff in the future. I want to talk about recruiting goggles. I want to talk about how you're paid as a recruiter. I want to talk about how, recruiting 2 or 3 lines down goes. We have so much to talk about. But I hope this has been a good, brief review of a first meeting. Let me recap one more time because I know it's complex. And again, it's not like a perfect sales script where you have the intro, the body, the close. This is different. So when I'm going into a meeting, I'm spending 10 minutes fellowshipping. I'm actively listening and I'm probing with questions and kind of thinking as they talk about it. Hey, here's how this job could relate to this person. I share a couple brief stories, usually catered to something that they said to help build some interest with the job for them. These are brief stories. You want to spend most of the first 10 minutes listening and learning about them. It's all about rapport. You transition, and I tend to say something like, well, dude, this is all awesome and I love hearing about it. Do you mind if I share a bunch of stuff about the job with you? And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to stop me. Or, well, dude, obviously you came in here to talk about door-to-door sales. Do you have any specific questions for me? Or I can kind of just give you a brief overview. Or, well, dude, that was awesome. Now let me ask you this. You've got some huge goals, some huge ambitions for your future. How could this job fit into those goals and aspirations? Or what would you hope to get out of door-to-door sales? From there, you transition and you explain the opportunity. You keep it clear and simple. Who we are, what we do, it's a commission-based job, and why it matters to them, what they get out of it. And the why it matters to them is probably the most important part of this. You want to hit on the paycheck, you want to hit on the personal growth, and then you want to smack a home run with the people. You keep it interactive throughout the whole thing, ask them questions, relate it to them, tell a couple brief stories. Address concerns head on and be honest with people. Don't tell them it's an easy job because it's not. And we want to set the culture right from the beginning of, hey, expect this to be hard, but also recognize how absolutely incredible it is. And then finally, make sure that you close the meeting with a follow-up commitment, whether it's signing the agreement, whether it's looking over the paperwork, or whether it's thinking on some questions so that we can talk about them next time. Make sure that you're closing them on at least a follow-up meeting. And then remember, the gold is in the follow-up. Guys, recruiting is one of the most fun, one of the most engaging and enjoyable and growth-centered opportunities of our entire lives. I thoroughly enjoy it. Remember that we're looking for the right people this year. And maybe on the next podcast, I'll help line item who those right people are. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this has been really helpful. Let's get after it. Let's sign 1 million and take over the world. See you guys.